Alright guys, so today we're getting a first look at V-Moda's brand new wireless headphones. The pair that we're going to check out are the V-Moda S80s. And what's interesting about the S80s is this is really the first time that V-Moda is starting to kind of venture off from this design that they've used basically since they've started releasing headphones. And another thing that makes this pair unique is not only is it a pair of wireless headphones, but it is also a hybrid speaker system. So it already has something pretty unique about it. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about the features, what all comes inside the box, and see if it's worth the very hefty retail price of $399. One thing that was really surprising about this pair is there's no active noise canceling, there's no case in the box to actually carry these around, and I find that to be kind of a bold move because the $400 price tag automatically puts it up against the new Sony XM5s. You also have the Bose 700s, you always have the Sony XM4s and the Bose QC35 series. So there's some pretty stiff competition in this price range, but all of those headphones that I just mentioned all come with a case and they all have active noise canceling. So if you are looking at this pair, it's because you're looking for a very high-end pair of on-ear headphones, and you also need the neckband hybrid speaker system because the ear pads on these, when you swivel them up, it changes the EQ, it changes the volume level, where it's like you have one of those neckband speaker systems. Now, I've tested the Bose model, I've tested the Sony neckband speaker, and those in themselves are pretty pricey. They do come in, I think, at about $200 to $300. So getting a high-end pair of headphones and a high-end neckband system at $400 may actually seem like a really good value. And this pair is completely wireless. There's no 3.5mm cable, so the only way to use this is with connecting via Bluetooth. And speaking of the Bluetooth, it does have Bluetooth 5.1. This pair also has aptX HD playback, which has been very impressive as far as the sound quality goes. I didn't have any kind of compression, and this pair is also fantastic with all different types of media. I didn't have any lag with movies and videos, and with gaming there is a slight lag, but this is kind of the case with pretty much every headphone that I test. Now, this headphone is available in 3 different colors. I actually have the black and rose gold model, but there's also a silver pair that's in the black version, and then they also have one that is completely white. So it is nice that you have those 3 different options, but this is usually the case with V-Moda headphones. And another thing with V-Moda headphones is this pair also uses the custom shields that you can change to try to customize these headphones. Now, this pair, instead of the ones that you used to have to screw in, they are now magnetized. So you can easily take them off. You can easily switch them and replace them. I think they're like $25 for a new pair of shields. So if you're somebody that cares how your headphones look, or if you just want to match with what you're wearing or whatever, I do like that they have this option. Now, another thing that I do want to say is this pair is supposed to work with V-Moda's app, but at the moment it doesn't. I think it's supposed to start working in a couple of days, but the sound that came on these right out of the box, I actually wouldn't want to EQ in any way. And as far as I can tell, the only thing that the app is doing is allowing you to choose between some already pre-built EQ options, but also customize the EQ settings yourself. And there's actually a separate EQ for when you're using them as headphones and then when you're using them as the neckband. So if you change the neckband to sound a certain way, whenever you flip the ear cups up, it will switch over to whatever EQ setting that you have. Now, moving over to what all comes inside the box, this is actually fairly simple. Because this pair does not come with a hard case or a soft case, and also because this pair is completely wireless, the only other thing that you get in the box other than the headphones is a USB-C cable. And this is the cable that you're going to use to charge these. And speaking of the charging, battery life is just okay. If you use them as a pair of headphones, you can get 20 hours of playtime. And if you use them just simply as a neckband speaker, you're going to get around 10 hours. So we've seen better battery life in this price range, but again, that's kind of nitpicking because 20 hours on a single charge is going to get most people through a normal week. Now moving over to checking out the build quality and the design of these headphones, again, this is a very unique looking headphone and it is a different design for V-Moda. Now when you pick them up, immediately you can tell that there's some good weight to these. Now you can see that this is a metal or steel frame, and I think that's where all the weight is coming from. The headband has plenty of padding. Although I'm gonna say if you're going to use these for long periods of time, you are going to start to feel some weight on the center of your head. And that kind of goes back to the fact that there is some weight in these. The ear cups, again, are a flat pleather type material. They are extremely soft and it is meant to cover your whole ear. I mean, it sits right there on your ears, but there's no isolation with this pair. Basically, once you put them on, you're going to hear everything in your surroundings the same way you would if you didn't have the headphones at all. Now on the right side, that is where all of your buttons and your input is located. There is a USB-C input for charging, and then on top of the right ear cup is where your controls are located. Now this is something we've seen with all the other V-Moda headphones, and that controls your play, your pause, your ability to skip your tracks forward, go backwards, and your volume control. Now for you guys that do like to use your headphones and earbuds and all for taking phone calls, I was very impressed with the mic quality on these, but you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So here is the mic test using the S80s, and again, I think it does a very good job of picking up my voice. I feel like it sounds pretty natural, although it does still have a digital noise to it, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here's the mic test for the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. So this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound. And we are going to talk about the sound the way that these sound just out of the box, because this did not work with the app, so I could not change it into different EQ settings. And it definitely has that very consumer-friendly curve to it. Basically, the bass is boosted on this pair, the treble is boosted on this pair, and they did pull the mids a little bit forward so that the vocalists and certain instruments aren't getting lost in the mix. And this is a very bass-heavy headphone with a lot of brightness in the treble. So it's not trying to hide any details, and it is trying to give you that subwoofer type feel. So if you just like that very consumer-friendly sound, this definitely checks that box. But where I feel like the huge drop-off is in the hybrid speaker system mode, is there's not really a whole lot of bass. I felt like if V-Moda could try to put some kind of haptic feedback into the headband that's sitting on your neck, that way you could feel bass if you're using them in the speaker mode, it would have been a whole lot better. But in speaker mode, everything comes through very clear. It's just not as loud as some of those models that I mentioned earlier. It feels like it's made to just kind of listen, like if you're in a living room and somebody's at the other side of the living room and you don't want to have headphones covering your ears, let's say you're watching a movie or playing something on your phone, it's made to just kind of hear right here in your own little personal space. It's not made to just blast. So I can kind of see the appeal to this, but I just know with testing those other neckband speaker systems from Sony and Bose, you can turn those up quite a bit where people around you can hear them. But if you're just in your office and you wanted to blast something, but you didn't want to have headphones on, you could do it with those pairs. But I felt like with the V-Modas, it's definitely kind of holding it back. So really, from an audio standpoint, I think the neckband speaker system almost still seems like it was kind of an afterthought, but from a headphone side, I think they nailed it, especially just going for that consumer-friendly sound. There's plenty of volume, there's plenty of presence in the bass and the treble. The treble never got harsh, even though they did tune it up quite a bit. They did it just enough so that it could kind of counteract with that very thumping bass. And I never had any issues with hearing male or female vocalists. Acoustic instruments always came through very clear. So as expected, they sound excellent. But the soundstage and the sound imaging was also kind of surprising because it's not doing a whole lot to isolate and kind of block out some of the things around you. They sound a lot more open than other headphones in this price range. They're more open than the Sonys, they're more open than the Bose, so it adds a very spacious sound. And with this pair, I had no issue with being able to tell where different sounds were coming from. So really my overall opinion is this. I think the price tag on these is very confusing because you would immediately think that this pair is out there to compete with the Bose and the Sony and all those brands that I mentioned earlier, but it is a different headphone altogether. It is an on-ear pair of headphones. There's no noise canceling, there's no case, so it doesn't seem as portable. And the speaker hybrid system is just something that these offer that the other brands don't. So it's really gonna come down to what you're looking for. If you're kind of looking at a neckband speaker, but you also wanna get a very nice pair of headphones, I think that's where the value is in these. But I personally just think if you're just going based off sound alone, I do think that there's better offerings out there in this price range and even at a lower price tag. So this, in my opinion, I feel is for a very niche market. This just isn't for everybody. And I don't think this is made to compete with a lot of those other headphones, but you can't help but to compare them to those because of the price tag. Guys, that wraps up my video on the brand new V-Moda S80s. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.